Have you ever thought about who you are? That sounds crazy. If someone was to walk up to you right now, today, and say, who are you? Not what you do, not your passions, not your favorite color, your zodiac sign. Hopefully that your life experiences have kind of shaped that for you. Meaning, when you have kids, now being a good mother might be important to you. Who are you really? Like, who are you? I was thinking about this earlier. I was thinking about the power of identity and how it shapes our morals and values. And, as kids growing up and then into our teens and then in our adult life and even in our adult life, experiencing new challenges and overcoming things and changing career life, changing relationships, family dynamics, having kids, all of it, our identity changes. But there's still some core fundamental pieces I think that are stuck with us. So I identify as a good person. I identify as a helpful person. I identify as having a beautiful soul. I identify as a person who is drawn to the light, a person who sees light and love even in the darkness. Which brings me back to the whole reason I asked this question. Having your identity and knowing who you are is important because it guides our decisions in our conversations. And I was just talking to my girlfriends about this last week. If you're in a conversation with somebody and there's an argument or there's a disagreement and something is said to you that puts your identity in question. So let's just say I'm talking to someone on the phone and they tell me that I hurt them. God, I'd be devastated. I would be devastated. I don't want to hurt people. I want to help people. Everything stops in that conversation until I am able to reaffirm my identity that was just questioned by the other person, instead of recognizing that that's a manipulative tactic and that it works. Like, think about it. If someone would say, you do these videos and you just really like attention. You dress up when you go out. You just really like attention. That wouldn't bother me because my identity is not to be judged off of what people think as far as my eagerness for attention. That doesn't bother me. I'm numb to that. So, but if you tell me I'm a bad person, if you tell me I hurt you, if you say I hurt your feelings, or if you accuse me of doing anything that's not in alignment with how I identify with myself, everything stops. Nothing else in that conversation matters until we reaffirm that Jessica is in fact a good person. What if you took yourself out of that for a second? Now, this is a tactic that highly manipulative people use because I've studied it, but it is good to know. And then on the flip side, if you want to know more about someone else's character, if you want to know more about who you're dealing with, we make assumptions of other people's identities all the time. We make assumptions about, which is different than ego. It's different. Ego is how we handle the emotions that come with it, but identity is like your core belief about who you are. That's of ultimate importance. So if you're around someone and you ask them, who are you? And they can't tell you or they don't know, hopefully they know. Maybe they just don't want to tell you. Maybe it's not so pretty. What else did I want to say about identity? Just like a pile of laundry in a laundry basket that's just been sitting there in your living room, clean clothes unfolded for well over 2 weeks. I mean, not me, but some people. And you feel this like disorganization about you, this whole like, oh my gosh, I got to get that laundry folded and put away. I hate doing that, but I got to get it out. I see it and it makes me feel cluttered. It makes me feel, for someone that doesn't have a firm identity, that's what I would imagine it's like. There are all these unfinished items. There's all these to-dos because you haven't figured it out yet. You don't know who you are. You're just kind of operating from this decision to that decision, one to the next. If you don't have a firm identity, how can you have strong morals? If you don't have a firm identity, who cares if you deceive somebody? Who cares if you lie to them? Who cares if you cheat? Who cares if it's not going against your identity? Is it really that bad? Because, there's a lot of bad people in the world. I don't even know if I believe in karma. There's a lot of bad people in the world, and maybe there is no such thing as evil and good. Maybe there is no such thing as karmic justice. We hear a lot about that right now with the full moon. Maybe it's not true. Maybe it's not important that I have an identity. Maybe it's not important that my soul makes decisions that are aligned with God and the spiritual world and morality. And maybe it's all right if I lie, steal, cheat, all of the things, right? Maybe it's okay. It doesn't really matter because I don't have an identity. So I let ego make choices for me. On top of, if you are rocking around town without a healed inner child as an adult, guess who makes the decisions? The child. Children don't always make the best decisions. Children get upset if you take their toy. Children want something immediately. I want that piece of candy and I want it now. They're operating on what they see and making a decision one move at a time, one person at a time, one situation at a time. And that can look very ugly. So if you're ever uncomfortable in a conversation, if you Ever feel really uncomfortable and you're not sure why? Step back and ask, is your identity in question? And then step one more step back and say, why? Is this an attempt to manipulate the conversation, reframe the conversation, take over the frame of the conversation? So that now, no matter what the topic started out as, now I'm over here, everything stops until I reaffirm my identity. You can take over the whole frame by saying something completely unrelated to whatever the topic was that was brought up, and putting the other person in a position where they now feel like they have to defend their identity. And guess what happens? As soon as you start defending your identity, you lost. Good person doesn't win a conversation with a manipulator. In fact, it's a disadvantage because you care. Like, you want to be a good person. You want your identity to come across as a good person, helpful, understanding, all of that. And they know that. And since their identity is kind of just based off a child's mindset, it's what can I get out of this situation and this person right now? And the ability to control our ego and the ability to have discernment and make decisions aligned with self and aligned with morals and values is just kind of just wishy-washy. It doesn't really exist. So our identities, if they're not solid, we don't necessarily make good choices, and we don't necessarily care either. If I don't have an identity as a good person, I can't disappoint myself when I'm bad, that kind of thing. So when asked, who are you? Mental is not aligned with self. So there's the mental, logical, operating off of no firm or solid identity is making decisions, and they could be all over the board because they're not operating off of a core identity. They're not operating off of I'm Jessica Craig and I like to connect with people and I like to help people. And it hurts my heart when I don't. And it hurts my heart when I'm wrong. And I feel embarrassed if I say something that might offend somebody. That's a solid identity, good and the bad. And that's just a little bit, right? But that's who I am, like every day, everywhere I go, everywhere, sleeping, awake, all of it. So if you have a person that doesn't have a strong identity, you get harmful behavior, lack of empathy, lack of awareness. You get a lot of that stuff because it doesn't cost you anything. You don't care. It doesn't register internally, mind and body and soul in your heart if that's not part of your identity. So if your identity looks like the laundry that's in my living room right now, where it's pretty much scattered everywhere, how do I have a conversation about my gray socks when I don't even know where they're at? I mean, they're out there somewhere, but I don't know if they're in the top of the pile. I don't know if they're in the bottom. I don't know if they're buried in the middle. I can't really talk too deeply about the gray socks because I don't really know where they're at. Be careful, because just like the clothes scattered all over my living room chair, it can get messy because then you're operating with someone that may not have morals and values either at all or very little. There might be a lot of deceiving, like lying, making them appear like they have an identity, making it appear like they have a conscience, but they don't actually. And identity is everything, and it can be used against us to manipulate and take over conversation too. The focus just got taken off of them and back to me. So anything that was actually important in this conversation, it's all out the window. Nothing else matters in this conversation until I reaffirm my identity right now. It's not just a lack of ownership. It is a clever but very highly manipulative tactic so that there's no focus on them. There's no focus on everything's about what you did. So even if there's something valid, like they did something really, shady or whatever, and you're like, hey, you happen to be on the phone with them or in person, it doesn't matter. Hey man, this thing happened and wow, that really hurt me. Like, how could you do that? Like, what happened? Well, you always and it's like flipped. And you're like, wait. And then you're like, no, I didn't. What are you talking? And then guess what? Just took over the frame. So if you identify as being a good person, just know that good doesn't win when you're working with a manipulator. That's all I got. Deep Thoughts by Jessica Craig.